What up, y'all? It's your boy Aces Galvin coming at you guys with the next My Life story. I think we're on episode 25 now. Now, if you were sitting with us the last couple episodes, you know we're in the middle of some crazy stuff, so we're going to get right into it. Before we begin, there's two things. Somebody asked me about episode 13. That accidentally got deleted, so I will be redoing that one. And also, a lot of you have asked... what's Mia look like, because no one knows. You know, if you guys are not on my Facebook, then you wouldn't know. So I do have a picture here for y'all. Ooh. Damn, we can't even see my face, my nigga. Shit. That's Mia. I'm just trying to, it's because it's on a computer screen, it's kind of hard to see. But that's her, and that's me. And that was the night of the second episode. Or third episode. Whatever night we were getting chased by those cops in that Jeep was that night. So that was January 31st of... I forgot what year it was. Not long ago. Like what, 2004. Alright. So now that y'all seen her, I'm not sure how well that looked, but we're going to get right into it. Now, where we left off was she went on vacation. She's about to be doing whatever she's going to be doing because, you know, she's in retaliatory mode. I'm sitting back. You already know the situation with my dad, so let's just pick up it right from here. So things actually get a lot worse. First thing happens is, let's see here. So my job. Let's talk about my job. My job, I started becoming late because my car wasn't working, and I was going to work with one of my buddies, and which was Charles. And Charles had a great idea for some reason. As soon as I don't have a car anymore, he wants to go pick up another person who works a little bit after we do, and that ends up making us late all the time because he's never coming on time. So he keeps doing this. He keeps picking this guy up. We get to work late. Pretty much it got to the point where around the time where all this stuff started happening, my boss was like, all right, well, if you guys get any more late, you're going to get fired. So I'm like, damn, I can't drive my car at the moment because my exhaust is completely off my car and it makes too much noise. I'll get pulled over and I'm trying to go to, you know, any kind of tickets or any kind of court or anything. So what ends up happening is we keep going to work. It's highly stressful because we have to leave even earlier than normal because we have to make sure we don't get pulled over, and I don't want to drive my car. So essentially, I'm on edge with my job. One more late and we're done. It's pretty much August at this point. And no, it's pretty much July at this point, right? And my sister is leaving this month, which means my dad leaves in August. So my sister is done with school. She's going to go off to Virginia, I believe. And my dad's going to stay in that house for one more month. Mind you, and I told him this same month that I'm not paying anything else. So I only got 1 month to not pay car insurance, but I still had to, we'll talk about what happened with the rent situation in a minute because we got to do this chronologically. So my job is getting tense. Mia is non-existent right now. She's on a cruise. She's out. She's gone. I don't talk to her very much at this point. Don't talk to any of the girls I used to talk to at all. All the little precautionary girls I had, all gone. I don't really hear too much from Toogie and Justin until I do hear about them later on, which is about now where, let's move into, damn, that's raining dumb hard. Anyway, let's move into August, right? So the middle of August, I'm at work, and I'm that tired because I'm always like up thinking and stuff like that, listening to music, thinking. And what ended up happening was I'm at work, and I get a phone call. Now we used to drive these lifts, so you can make the lift go like 5 stories up in the air. That's about as high as it goes. And I get a phone call. I go all the way up on the 5th thing, and I answer it. It's from some weird number I don't know, but it had Mia's area code. So I answer the phone. I'm like, hello, it's Mia. She's like, oh, hey, I wanted to talk to you. I'm like, all right, what's going on? Like, at this point, me and her have talked a few times, but nothing on no serious stuff. Our talks were, I know y'all hear this. All right, our talks were nothing crazy. It was just simple things like, how are you doing and stuff like that, because we were both extremely used to dealing with each other. So even after the situation, it was really kind of hard for each other to like just completely cut each other off, but we weren't talking in any way. It was just like, hey, and that was about it. Anyway, she calls me this day, and I did specifically ask her a couple days before this. I said, hey, let me know when you're talking to somebody, or let me know when you're dealing with somebody, because I'm just not going to be involved with that. We were kind of on edge, thinking about maybe trying to work it out and stuff like that. She goes and tells me, she's like, I got something to tell you. I'm like, ugh. I told her straight up, I was like, yeah, I hate when people say that. I'm like, go ahead and say what you gotta say. She's like, well, actually, it's nothing. It was just, what'd she say? She said it was just something about, um, what I did on vacation or something. I was like, I don't, as I told her before, I was like, yo, I don't care what you did on vacation. At this point, I was already kind of getting into the idea that I messed this up by making the wrong decision, so I already had this remorse, and I already accepted some of the consequences that I had. And at this point, I thought not having my friends around, not having any girls that I deal with, not having her or not having her trust or not having her relationship was enough. But no, 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 we're not done yet. There's a lot more. So what she goes and tells me essentially is, hey, I am dating somebody. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know because Toogie and Jo seen me at the pizza place with this guy. I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm getting mad angry, mind you. I'm like, what did you just say? Because I want to make sure I heard it right. She said, pretty much let me explain this to y'all. Right after when she came back from vacation, she started talking to some dude from Peekskill, where I'm from. I didn't know about this. She was talking to him for almost the entire duration of the time that we weren't talking and past the time we were talking. She never told me about it. She lied about it because I asked her specifically. She just lied about it completely. Then, so I guess the tables turned here. Then she goes and tells me, that he was driving her car and they drove down to the pizza place in the middle of my city. As soon as they drove down to the pizza place, Jo and Toogie were there. They seen her. She begged them not to tell me that she had another dude, that she was messing around with some other dude from my city, and on top of that he was driving her car. Literally, this was in July. A month goes by in the middle of August, and she tells me, because it was eating her alive on the inside, because she didn't feel good about lying about it, because it's not really her thing to do. When I heard that, I got so pissed off that I punched this metal grate and almost broke my hand. I hit it mad hard. Luckily, it was like, it wasn't like, it was like, it was a grate. If it was a wall, I probably would have got hurt. But look at that. Look at that rain. But anyway, once I punched that, I was so mad. I was so fucking angry. I wanted to cry. I wanted to yell. I was like, And then she was like, I'm sorry. And I just hung up. And I'm just sitting there. And I'm like, damn. So now I got to deal with these guys. So now I got to deal with them. I get home at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't sleep at all. I'm just up, just thinking like, yo, this is crazy. I'm just putting all the pieces together. I'm like, yo, I'm going to be leaving. I got to leave this place, and I'm going to be relatively homeless. I'm not going back to Virginia. I'm not having nowhere to go in 2 weeks or so. And I'm just like, yo, like, what am I going to do? And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yo, this shit can't get any worse. That's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm like, all right, if this is everything, I can handle this one by one. I can take this in precautions and steps, and I can deal with this situation. I can deal with this one by one. And that's what I'm thinking to myself. That's the only thing pushing me through this. I'm like, yo, I can do this, but I got to do this thing one by one. I'm like, yo, it's so bad. I'm like, and I'm thinking of counters to things. I'm like, all right, well, as far as Toogie and Justin, Toogie and Jo, I don't need them if they're gonna do something like that. As far as me, I got to take that L and move forward and do better. As far as this living situation, I'm gonna use my car to get out of the situation. As far as my car, I'm gonna make sure I use my last two checks I have at this apartment to make sure that I get my car fixed. So that was the main goal here, was to get an exhaust to put on my car so I could use my car. Worst case scenario, my car would be my escape plan, whether I needed to leave or whether I need to live in it or whether anything, my car was necessary because it was broke at the moment. So it's the middle of August, mind you. And now if you guys remember, I got screwed over and had to pay rent like mad early this same month. Or was it this month or was it the last month? It was one of these 2 months, so my money was all messed up. So I'm just sitting there patiently waiting. As soon as I kind of lay down and I'm just laying there and I'm looking out the window. Mind you, this apartment was on like the 7th story. I'm just looking out the window. No, I actually go in the shower and there's a window in the shower. I'm looking out the window. It's ice, like the water's ice cold. I'm just looking out the window like, and then after that, my wife just came in and I had to tell her like fall back. But anyway, like right after that, what ended up happening was, I'm in the shower, I'm like looking out the window, I'm just like, damn. And I hear a knock on the door. Doo, doo, doo. It's my dad. I'm like, all right. I come out, I'm like, yo, I'm talking to you when I get out. I get out, and then what he tells me is, he's like, yo, man, I just found out I'm going to North Carolina in September, I think he said. September or October. I think it was October. I think it was. Regardless, I didn't have much time left. I'm like, all right. He's like, yeah. So no. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. It wasn't October. It was actually that same month. I'll tell you what. We'll get to what October actually is. But it was actually. He was like, yeah. I'm moving out in less than a month. He's already talked to the landlord. Blah 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 blah. But we still got to pay the last month rent. And he said that will be due in, what did he say, like 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how was the last month rent due in the same month that the rent I just paid is due? So it's like 2 weeks ago I had to pay rent early, and then now you're telling me that the last month's rent is due now? It's essentially what he said. So I'm like, wow, son. I'm like, you motherfucker. I'm like, all right, whatever. Because I didn't want no issues at this point. I'm just too through. Long story short, let's skip ahead, all right? I don't find Toogie and J.O. for a while. I don't run into them yet. But I don't run into J.O., but I somehow contacted him. I forgot what I did. And I told him that if I catch him, I'm going to punch him in his fucking shit. Didn't catch him, didn't see him for mad long. I was tight. Toogie, on the other hand, I was able to eventually catch up to him. And he was telling me, like, you know, he was just pretty much not lying about it, but just trying to come up with every excuse in the book why he didn't do it. And from Toogie's end, considering that Toogie was the one that was always around me and Mia and always around both of us and always had our girls together, I can understand why he would want to do that, but at the same time, there's no loyalty there between me and him, and I've known him since he's my godbrother, so I was just like, yo, that's unacceptable. So instead of punching him in his face, I just deaded the whole situation and left it alone. Now I have no friends left. They're gone. Janelle is always with Justin or with J.O., so I don't deal with her at this point. So I'm pretty much on my own. Let's skip ahead. So all this stuff happens. I'm just dying on the inside. I'm recuperating little by little. Charles, one random day, mind you guys, I get my exhaust. So I get my exhaust and I get my car ready. I head up to my job one day, and there's my job now. I'm getting close to being late. I don't know what the hell happened. I was just running late, and I have about 10 minutes to get to work, and I'm about 15 minutes away. And my friend won't clock in for me or anything, so I'm just like, yo, I gotta get to work as fast as possible. Now the road that I take to work is one lane. Now you can go on the other lane at times to go around. It's 2 lanes, so you can go on the other lane at times, but this lane runs through mountains. So you got to go through these these mountains, these little corridors and join, and then you eventually come out to another city where my job is at. I'm hauling ass, my nigga. I'm out. And I'm going as fast as I can. My exhaust is fixed. I'm out. And I get to this lane where I'm in back of an Audi. And I'm just like, oh man, like the Audi's going mad slow. But the only reason the Audi's going slow is because in front of the Audi there's a Camry. Now the Camry's just moving like, it's a 40, it was like 45 in that area, but it usually is 55. And the Camry was going 30. I couldn't go into the other lane because I couldn't really see around the Audi, and I didn't know if a car was going to come around the corner because it wasn't a spot you can go around the lane. So what I do is I look at the clock, it's 7 minutes left. All I'm thinking to myself is, if I get caught, and mind you, my father's going to be moving out in 2 weeks. So I'm like, yo, if I get caught, I lose my job. I drop gear. You already know how I do. So I go over into the left lane. Woo, car's coming. I'm like, oh, cut back over. The freaking Audi just so happens to move out the way of me and go on the shoulder. I slow down, get back behind the Audi. A cop coming this way seen that. Now, when he seen that, my freaking radar detector started going crazy. I guess he turned his switch on because he seen it from down there, and then as he was coming past us, I was like, oh, my heart's racing mad crazy. I'm like, yo, I hope he didn't see that, because it was wild reckless. I could probably went to jail for that. I'm watching the cop in the rear view. I'm watching. I see his brake light light up. I'm gonna tell y'all, I took off. I was like, skirt, flying down the street. I go in the opposite lane of traffic. I'm out. The Audi behind me decides to do the same thing because he's been wanting to get around the Camry. We're flying down the road through the mountains. The cop cuts the lights on. I'm like, oh shit, I cut my lights off. I'm doing like 70 to 80 to 90, And then when I get to 90, I know it's mad dark out. I have my lights off. The Audi's behind me. The cop's going after the Audi, but he doesn't know I'm in front because he can't see me. But I'm out. And I'm far enough in front of the Audi where the headlights aren't hitting me. So I'm out. And I'm doing like 90. I see, I have to make a choice. I'm like, yo, if I go out, remember I told you guys we're in the mountains and it opens up to a main road? I'm like, yo, if I go out to the main road, that's where all the street lights are. He'll see me. I'm going to get pulled over because I have a wing on my car and I have all these vinyls on it and shit. So they'll know exactly which one of us was doing that nonsense. So what I did was I dropped gear crazy fast, slid a little bit, like, took a right and turned out and just cut off the car. And what I hid in, like, pretty much in someone's driveway, I cut right off the road into a driveway. And I laid back in my seat, heart's pumping mad crazy. I decided to get out the car. As soon as I get out the car, I freaking run in front of it. The cop comes well, it wasn't the cop, it was the Audi, comes flying by. And then the cop goes flying after him. And I'm like, whew. I'm like, all right. I get back in the car. I back out mad slowly. I take off. I'm going back down towards work. I get all the way to my job. I have 60 seconds left. Literally, I get in the parking lot with 60 seconds left. I run full speed through the parking lot. I'm running. I get all the way to the clock out thing, son. I get to the clock out, the thing you look clock out on, right? And we had a number we had to put in there. And I go to put my number in, and it's showing me the seconds. I get to the clock out machine with, what was it, 6 seconds left? It was like it said 9:50. It said 9:59:54 when I looked at it. And I'm like, I have to get a 6-digit number put in this machine and press OK in 6 seconds. Now, in my mind, that's just one button, press a number. That's what I'm thinking about doing. I press 4. I press the other couple numbers that it is. I got to the 6th number. And you know the crazy part about that number? That number was something we picked, and that number ended on 131. I went to hit 131, and when I hit the 1, I hit the 3, and then when I hit the 1 again, the 1 didn't work. Again, for some reason, I was like, dude, it didn't work, and I wouldn't press OK. It told me it was incorrect. I'm like, I go to try to do it again, 10 o'clock. Come on, son. I'm like, just, literally, I remember that feeling. It felt like, imagine like 2 shoulder strap book bags, right? And they're full of cement. And just imagine that you've been standing up without these things for mad long, and as soon as something happens, both bags drop, one on each shoulder, and you're just holding up this weight. But it's so much weight that you just gotta slouch over and be defeated. That's exactly what happened. So that happened. I'm just sitting at the clock out machine. I put my head on the wall as I'm just leaning on the wall, my head on the wall, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is insane. Because I know for a fact I'm going to get fired. I go into the room where my boss is a couple hours later because they called me. I already knew what it was. He came in and he's like, yeah, we looked at your clock out thing. You were late. We did warn you. I tried to explain to him the story. He didn't want to hear it. He's like, yo, I like you, but these are the way it works. We got to let you go. He's like, you have an option. He's like, you can finish out today or you can leave now. I would just like, I'll just leave. So I leave. I'm walking through the parking lot. My car is freaking mad. Like, it just seems like it's just done from just getting pushed the way it did. I drive all the way back home. I get in the house. As soon as I get in the house, remember, it's 2 weeks left till I leave, so it's only 2 weeks. My father goes, yeah, we're going to need that rent money. If you have the rent money, can you give it to me now? I don't tell him anything about my job at all. I was like, because, it was kind of due at this point. Remember I told you guys it was only 2 weeks? I gave him the money for that. And then I just sat in my room and I was just like, yo, what the fuck am I going to do? And pretty much after that, I'm just sitting there. The next day comes. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, it's about to be a wrap. And I'm going to leave y'all with this. This is what happened next. I come to find out that my father's exhaust was messed up on his car, right? And his exhaust was messed up, so his exhaust wasn't working either. This nigga took the rent money that I gave him and actually bought an exhaust for the car. Just think about that for a second. He never asked if I had a place to go. He never knew. He didn't ask. He did not take the money for, this is after screwing me over for the insurance money. He took the $400 out. Now, mind you, that must have meant that his deposit covered the rent. Whatever deposit he put down covered the last month. He took the $400 from me to get an extra $400 to fix his car, so that way when it was time to go in less than 2 weeks, he could just drive there. I'm just going to leave y'all on that. Next video, we're going to get to the point where I leave, where I have to move out and nowhere to go. So in the next video, we'll be talking about that, and we'll also be talking about when I actually do see Toogie again, and a couple other things. But yo, just try to think about how crazy all that is that's happening at once. So that's pretty much what's going on now. It's your boy Ace AG. I will see you guys soon. Definitely will have one, if not tomorrow, then Monday definitely. So it's your boy AG. I'm out, yo. This shit's crazy.